Hello and welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers Chandigarh edition. And I'll try my level best to keep the news analysis short. At 30 minutes, I will try to sum the entire newspaper. Now, coming to the important news. So, of course, Israel-Palestinian issue. Now, this issue is also covered in the opinion section. So, there is a mention of Arab Peace Initiative concerning Israel and Palestine and Oslo Accords. So, we will cover them. Okay. Then concerning skill development, a very, very important theme. We have questions being asked on the GS3 paper. So skill development, there are some issues in Haryana. So this is something that we can build on it from mains answer writing point of view. Likewise, today is World Mental Health Day. There is an advertorial on this, so we can prepare on this. Sometime back, about 2017, there was a mental health policy. So we should revisit these things. Then in the editorial, there is one article on climate change and its impact on the businesses. I feel what corporates can do, what approaches are there, that is more important. What is the government doing? That is more important. Okay, so that there we can build up. Now there is one more article in the opinion which talks about delimitation and the women reservation bill. So again, we will just briefly cover it up. Okay, now we have the economy section. So we have the unemployment data. It is simply saying it is 7%. It's very high, right? So that data has been released. Net interest margin. Then we have international news, which is basically the same thing. And there was some news about submarines. So I have Chinese submarines are expanding in the Indo-Pacific region. So I think we should do is how many submarines do we have? Right? What submarines are there? What class of submarines are there? Which can help us in prelims as well as the internal security part of the mains paper. Now coming to the first news. So this is concerning, of course, Israel-Palestine issue. So let's do this with the help of the map. So you can see the map of Israel. It is on the west is Mediterranean Sea, and on the eastern side there is Jordan, Syria section, but there is the Dead Sea. Okay. So on the western side there is this Gaza Strip. So there are these two Palestinian territories. So in Israel, which is the Gaza Strip, and other one is this West Bank. West Bank actually lies to the eastern side. But the thing is that West Bank is to the west of the Dead Sea. That is why it is known as the West Bank. Bank is this territory. Okay. So now what happened was that this Gaza Strip, which is controlled by the Hamas. Hamas is a militant organization sponsored by Iran. So this organization conducted missile strikes. It is said that they fired about 5,000 missiles in a one go, plus mobilized troops onto Israel, because of which a lot of casualties took place. So that is one thing. Second is they mobilized these troops, plus they captured some of the people who were living, Israeli people who were living, Jewish people. So they were kept hostage. So this is the situation in Israel at the moment. So Israeli Prime Minister, who belongs to the far right political party, far right means more nationalism and strong positions. So he said that we are in a state of war and there'll be repercussions. So Israel always does this, but this time it is very, very, very serious. So obviously more attacks are taking place on the Palestinian territory. So that's what it is, right? So that's what I have explained at the moment. So yeah, so Netanyahu is saying going to change Middle East, we have only just begun. So this change is going to take place. Israel is going to be harder. It is going to take a tougher stance. Okay. We estimate 700 deaths, and Israel has mobilized more soldiers, 3 lakh reservists. European Union, which provides aid to the Palestinians, has suspended this aid. EU suspends all aid. And 493 people have killed in Gaza because of the Israeli counteroffensive. Now moving on, let us also discuss the brief issue of Palestine and Israel. Right, so briefly let's discuss. Now on the map, that territories that you saw, the entire territory. This is in the Arab region. This is the Arab region, and this was basically the territory of the Palestinian population. Post World War, it was decided that there will be a Jew state be created. You know, the Holocaust and all those issues that took place. So a Jew state would be created. Plus, this territory is the home of the Abrahamic religions, which includes Jew, Christianity, as well as Islam also. Okay, so Jew state. So they proposed that there shall be a two-state approach. Who proposed? The Western countries. Because Palestinians were already there. Now you say that we will carve out a new country which will have Jew states. So how can that be? So a two-state solution was proposed. Okay. Now, thereafter, of course, the Arab population, Palestine is one, but there are other Arab countries also. They were not happy with this situation. So the combined Arab bloc engaged in war with the Israel. The Israels were supported by the Western countries. And of course, the Israel won. Even though it's much smaller as compared to bigger countries, it was surrounded by bigger Arab countries, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, it is Saudi Arabia. Still, they were able to defeat because of the Western support. So the first war took place in 1948. And thereon, the wars took taking place and Israel kept winning it. In 1967, there was a major 6-day war, which again, the Israelis won. And at this time, Israel took more and more of the territories of Palestine. So imagine the map was actually much bigger, Palestinian territory, but more territories were taken from them. So this is the present state after the 1967 war. So every time they did, 48 also they did, but this time it was much more. Okay, so this was the situation. Now here, and this is the present situation. Now here we need to do these two things now. So one is the Oslo Accords, and other one is the Arab Peace Initiatives. Right, so let's cover these two also. So Oslo Accords, just a second. Okay, fine, I'm not able to find it. Oslo Accords is a series of agreements, but it was an initiative in the 1990s by the US particularly, which provided for creation of a self-government, democratic form of government in the Palestinian territories. So again, we will resort to the map. Okay, so Oslo Accord said that these territories will have some arrangement of self-determination, and there will be an arrangement of elections taking place. So easing self-government in Palestine and protocol for free elections in the territories of Palestine. So that was the objective of Oslo Accords. So started in 1993, there was another Accords in 1995. And this Oslo Accords were preceded by, there was a previous attempt also that was known as Camp David Accords. Right. So I hope this thing is clear. Oslo Accords and Camp David Accords. So according to the Oslo Accords now, the present Israel-Palestinian region, so this territory is now governed by a Palestinian Authority, Palestinian National Authority. So it's governed by them. Okay, so they are the governing body, but Hamas is also there, which is very dominant in the Gaza region. They are also there in the West Bank, but they are not so significant at the moment. Okay, so we have done the Oslo Accords. Now, moving to the Arab Peace Initiative. Arab Peace Initiative was a proposal made in 2002 by the former king of Saudi Arabia. By the former king of Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is the biggest country, the most dominant Arab nation over Arab. So they say that we represent the Arab bloc. So he proposed that the territories that Israel had taken over post 1967, they should be restored. So 1967, what territories were there? So those territories should be restored and given to the Palestine. So that should happen. And a new country of Palestine should be carved out. So with this, Israel, they will recognize Israel as a country. They will give the Israel a country and they will have normal relations with the same. And relations would be normalized between the Arab bloc and the Israels. So that was the Arab Peace Initiative, which is of course never come into force. And at the very present moment, so we're talking about 2002, at the very present moment, when 2020, 21, 22, 23, we hear about Abraham Accords, right? In fact, we have had a question also in the mains, Abraham Accords, which is an attempt of normalizing relations between the Arab bloc and the Israel. And the recent one, the majority of the Abraham Accords and to the present one is the I2, U2, which is India, Israel, UAE, and US. So again, so normalizing attempt is being made in this regard. Now with all this happening, of course, this thing will get difficult. Normalization of relationship will be get difficult. Okay, moving on. Elections to take place. The dates have been released by the Election Commission. So battle for the 5 states begins in November 7th, results in due December 3. Now that, so yeah, so one very important thing now, we were expecting simultaneous elections. One way of doing simultaneous elections would have been that these elections could have been postponed and could have been matched with the Lok Sabha elections. So that could have been a step towards simultaneous elections, but we are not going in that direction, at least for the moment. Other thing is electoral gender ratio up. That is, there is more participation of women in politics taking place. So yeah, so we have some data. So it's basically matching with the national average, and the women participating is matching. I think it's national average was 67% and women voters turn up was 65%. So women are becoming important stakeholders in the political process, and probably that explains the urgency of bringing in the Women's Reservation Act the way it was done, right? Gender politics emerging at the moment. So that maybe explains all this. Okay, moving on. Kaveri issue is again there. It is an interstate river water dispute between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. So Karnataka is saying that because of this El Nino kind of effect, right, aridity, less rains in the southern part, they're saying that we cannot release water. So this is, of course, goes against the verdict of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said how much water has to be shared. This was given in 2018. And in consequence of this, Kaveri River Water Management Authority was created. River Water Management Authority. So this verdict is not being followed. So yeah, so Tamil Nadu is approaching center for this purpose. Next, on its campus, NSG wages war against invaders. By the way, NSG headquarters, NSG is also known as the Black Cats and the commandos. In peacetime, when there are terror issues or something, they engage in that. So the main base is in Manesar, and now it has been expanded to other parts of the country also. Okay, so they have been told to remove this Vilayati kikar, right? So an invasive species, Vilayati foreign exotic species. So removing this. So this Vilayati kikar is known as Prosopis juliflora. Please keep an eye on this for prelims. Basic idea you should have. Okay, so Vilayati kikar. Why? Because this kikar is using a lot of water. This was not specific to the geography of the Haravlis. Here there is more aridity, water is less. So they will remove this trees and plant indigenous species. So again, from exam point of view, invasive species, their issues, allelopathy, those topics you can work. Okay. So this news we are doing in Haryana, a struggle to keep its skilling the youth idea on course. I'm not going into the article as such. We don't have to go. Uh, so yes, so basically there is some issue with the skilling for the youth population. By the way, in our country, about 2.5%, according to some other estimates, about 5% of the population is formally skilled. This is much lesser than other countries of the world where 60%, 70%, 80%. This is the ratio which we are working. So formally skilled people, they are much lesser. So this has an effect on job markets, right? So employability, so that thing affects. Plus, we are witnessing a demographic dividend where uh, within the age group, so 15 to 59 years of population, the working age group population is 59%. Right, so significant amount of population is working age is around 60%. Now, what are the issues being faced? There are a number of courses galore. That means the courses are in abundance, but students are clueless on utility. For example, the plumbing course is mentioned, tailoring, electrical system, but students feel that they will not get jobs with this, the utility of what they are being taught. So that is not there. They feel that it is better to go abroad. We don't have jobs in India, better to go abroad. And trainers are upset that they are not getting payments on time. So we get the issue of skills. Skilling is required. What are the issues with this skill development? Plus, what are the initiatives of the government with respect to skilling? I'll share this article with you, explain the challenge of skilling India. So that this you can read. Plus, there is one of Drishti IS also. So I think it is taken from here only, right? Similar points would be there. Plus skill development, this is the PIB. Again, I will share it on the Telegram. So what schemes are there for the skilling? Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, etc. So that again, I will share it with you on the Telegram. So skilling, then unemployment is there. So yeah, and the issue of unemployability. About 48% of the companies are saying that they are facing skill shortage. 48% of Indian employers are saying there is skill shortage. We have jobs, but there is skill shortage. Okay. Punjab's war on drug trade, right? So again, see, this is the problem. The main focus is on drug seizure, NDPS Act, gangster modules. These are important, but at the same time, even the newspaper is not focusing on the demand side issues. They're talking about the supply of drugs coming in. But what is the government doing on the demand side? That is, people do not demand drugs. So we have to look at the demand supply dynamics for the drugs. So demand side also has to be looked into, which includes rehabilitation, people getting addicted, people are de-addicted, education awareness, jobs into the non-formal sectors, all those things. Jobs into the formal sector, those things. Okay. I didn't read this, but yes, we have an YouTube video on biofuels. It's basically the E20 policy. That's the title. This also talks about 20% blending of ethanol. Sometime later, I will explain circular economy as well. Now, coming to the World Mental Health Day, I didn't search as to why today is the World Mental Health Day. What is the reason for choosing this particular date? So that maybe you can search. But as far as this today's article is concerned, let me tell you one thing. We have this mental health policy 2017. So that is there that we can refer to. And coming to this article, we just focus on the headings, right? Because these headings give us an idea about mental health and associated issues. And UPSC can also work on those lines if this question is asked. Mental health policy, of course, we have to refer to. So yeah, and these are the points again, what can be done. Helping a depressed teen, mental health of adolescents, basically the same thing. And what needs to be done, isolation, social media restriction, limited, all those things. All have to work together. Let's transform it together. Who will it be? It will be, of course, the children, the pair. It will be the schools. It will be the parents. right? So the government, so collectively they have to do it. Suicide and mental health. Okay, mental health is treated as a stigma. So we get all the points from here, right? If you just apply yourself, you'll be able to do it. Just a second. This person passed away, sadly. He was doing this Ironman race, right? So next day, after completing the task, he passed away due to multiple organ failure. Now, what is this Ironman race? Ironman race, or this, yeah. So this race includes swimming. So this is also known as triathlon endurance race. It includes swimming of 1.2 miles, swim. Then it includes about 56 mile of cycling race, and then 13.1 mile of running on the ground. So swimming, cycling, and running. This I was interested in. I was reading. It's not relevant for you. Coming to the editorial page. So we are covering this article, Face the Climate. This is about the climate and the corporate business sector. Straw in the Whirlwind tells us about the Arab Peace Initiative, which I've already explained. What is the Joe Biden's government doing to normalize relations with Saudi and Israel? Again, this I have explained, summed it up for you. Right, so these issues I've already covered. The wait continues. This is about the women's reservation bill. So these are the things that we are doing basically. So let's do the first one, face the climate. So the climate change is happening, and because of which we are getting affected. This year has been particularly bad, right? We had the warmest ever February, right? We had the warmest ever February, driest August since time series temperature, since we have started recording the time and temperature. So since 1901, this has been, we see these anomalies basically. Now, we always talk about the farm sector, that farm sector is getting affected. We saw how the cultivation of the kharif crops got affected because of this. Then just before the harvest, during the Baisakhi time, the harvest goes bad. So the vagaries of nature is affecting the farmers, of course, but it is also affecting the businesses. In fact, according to a recent survey by the corporate sector, they said that climate change is the single biggest business risk. How? It affects the income of the people, for example, the farmers, right? It may cause flooding or whatever. So because of this, people are more vulnerable. They do not want to make investments. They want to spend less. So that is the basic risk that has been mentioned. Now, what can the corporate do? Because if you look at this now, that theme is over now. Now, if you look at this, business and economic policymakers also need to incorporate climate change into growth models. This thing has not been elaborated in the article, but this is something that is of importance. That it is not just for the government to deal with the issue of climate change, but also the business and the the policymakers, of course, is government, but these people should also do something about it. We need to do something, that how corporate sector can deal with this issue of climate change. How can they contribute in mitigating climate change risk? Okay, so yeah, so climate change has to be made part of the growth model, the business growth model. What would that mean? That means that yes, businesses operate as they do, but sustainability should be an important parameter. Sustainability. For example, Amazon. Right? Amazon, look at the packaging that comes, plastic everywhere. Why can't they have paper type of things for packing or sustainable packaging practices? Imagine how much of e-waste, etc. is created because of this. Likewise, when we are talking about sustainability, let's do circular economy right now. Let's make businesses circular economy integral to business practices. Circular economy means that one is, raw materials, you make the product, then you sell the product, and then it goes into the waste. It should be recycled. That is circular economy. So it includes the starting and the end phase of, that continuity to be there is known as the circular economy. So those practices should be incorporated. Likewise, sustainable, clean sources of manufacturing, clean approaches should be used, less polluting initiatives should be done. So those things. So pollution mitigation is also there, and also use of renewable energy, renewables. For example, solar and wind energy for meeting your power needs. So these can be domestically done. These companies can, on their own basis, they can establish solar panels and provide for the electricity that they are using for their businesses. That can be done today, even though they are taking electricity from the state electricity board, but they are generating their own electricity. So these things can be done, right? So that would mean. Now, in line with this, there is something more that I wanted to discuss. It is the Z approach, ZAD. Zero effect, zero defect, zero effect, right? So reducing the waste, using better practices, reducing pollution. So discharge of solid waste, zero wastage of natural resources. So zero defect and zero effect approach. So this, again, you may read more on this thing, but it's about reducing waste, basically. Okay, so this approach. Besides, what is the government doing? So we have the PIB on this. Again, I'll share it with you later. So some initiatives are there. So one is Harit Bail, so means BHEL is that company. So for that, PSUs the government is doing. Besides, there is green company rating for all so this can be there for other industries. This is just for BHEL, but green company rating for all companies, not just BHEL. We can do it. We are writing answers. Who cares? Okay. Focusing on net zero and water neutral company. Okay, this is only for BHEL. Anyways, I couldn't find anything else actually. Results of assembly elections, larger lessons for political parties, we are not concerned. The wait continues. Women Reservation Bill. Okay. It's now Women's Reservation Act, 106th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay. So yeah, why the wait? The Women's Reservation Act said that there should be 1/3 reservation for the seats in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies, right? That should be there. But it will take time. It will not just happen right away, but it will take time. Why? Because it says that the Women's Reservation Act, the reservation of the constituencies for the women will take place after the conduct of the next census and delimitation. So only after this will the Women's Reservation Act will come into force, will be implemented. So how much time will we have to wait? So you see, we had this 84th Constitutional Amendment Act, in which there was a freeze on next delimitation exercise. So Article 82 and 170 of the Constitution provides for delimitation. And it says that after every census, a census takes place every 10 years. So after every census, there should be, the president should order for a delimitation commission. So this delimitation commission will study the population, and based on that, they will mark the constituency, delimit the constituency. So delimitation has to be done, and then Parliament will make an act. So that is what Article 82 and 170 says. 82 for the Lok Sabha and for the Parliament, and 170 for the state legislatures. So this has to be done every census, but there is a freeze since 1971, and this freeze has been extended from time to time. The most recent was 84th Amendment Act, which was in 2001. It says that we are freezing the delimitation exercise for the next 25 years. This was to control population, and southern states have controlled population, other states have not controlled population. So the seat share, if delimitation happens, the southern states stand to lose 100 seats to the north. Okay, so 25 years. So that means that first census after 2001, will the delimitation exercise take place according to the 84th Constitutional Amendment Act. So that would mean 2026. Now we know that the next census should be around 2031 or whenever that is. In fact, a 2020 census has not come actually. So after this, then delimitation will take place. So good 10-15 years are there for this thing to get implemented. This election, it will not happen. Maybe the next election. Maybe. Because the Shield JNK needs not helping for you, at least for the mock exam point of view right now. Okay, international news. Same thing is repeated. EU suspends aid. Gaza braces for Israeli assault. Okay, so all those things. Yes, with nuclear armed submarines, China near breakthroughs. So China's nuclear armed submarines is a Long March 11th. That is the name of the submarine. They're deploying more and more submarines in the Indo-Pacific region. That's all. Now, what are the submarines that we have at the moment? By the way, our nuclear class submarine is known as Arihant. INS Arihant. And now, times to come, it will be INS Arighat will also be added. So Arihant class submarine is nuclear powered submarines. So these are the submarines that we have, and these are the class of submarines. The Sindhu Ghosh submarines, this class is basically Kilo class submarine, KILO. Kilo class submarines are submarines that are made by Russians or made by India with the help of the Russians. So Kilo class submarines. Besides, there is the Scorpion class submarine, which is stealth diesel electric submarines, which are also known as Calvary submarines. Okay, now we come to the business section. So stock market is affected because of this Israel-Hamas issue. The investments sector from the foreign countries, they want to park into the safe places, right? Like gold and US dollar, they want to invest there. Moving on. Unemployment rate drops to 6.6% in urban areas. Very bad. Okay. So recently, please focus here. National Statistical Organization releases the periodic labor force survey. And periodic labor force, as I keep mentioning these days, it is the number of people who are employed. This is important. Number of people who are employed divided by number of people who are employed plus those who are unemployed but seeking work. Right. So it's not like no total number of population in the adult working age group. No, it is for those people who are seeking work. For example, there may be somebody who is unemployed, but not seeking work at the moment. Maybe that person is seeking higher education. Right. So that is periodic labor force survey. That's this ratio. So this is at roughly at 7%. Male, it is at 7%. Women at 9%. And very important, very important, labor force participation rate for females, it is at 20% around this. So if you multiply by this, you will get the percentage. Now, please, very interesting. Sometime back, I shared with you the PIB and it said 30%. And where is it right now? It is at 20%. It is less. Why is it less? So that social issues, from social dimension comes into gender issue and employment. So that we can build. Just keep an eye on these figures over here, this one. Now, average periodic labor force for women is 47% across the world, right? So we rank much below this. What are the reasons for it? Next news. Banks to see decline in net interest margin in higher cost of deposits. Okay. So see, it's very simple. When you go to the bank and you say, I want to deposit your money, the bank gives you some interest for your saving accounts, roughly 4%, something like that, Right? So that is the deposit rate. Okay. So what is happening is that when the banks give more deposit rates, right, and bank is also borrowing money from someplace else, so this net interest margin is coming down for it. The more the net interest margin, the more profit the banks are earning. So this net interest margin is going down, and the banks are forced to increase the interest rates because one is the bond yields are high. Bond yields at the moment are high, particularly after this RBI open market operations, they have pushed high. So because the bond yields are high, to incentivize people to park money in the banks, so the deposit rates bank have to increase that. So that is the main reason. So the bank yields have pushed bank interest rates to go up. Yeah, so nothing much over here. Next is India-Peru trade talks to begin today. Just look at the map of South America and locate Peru and the nearby area. And Peru, we talk with reference to El Nino and La Nina normally. Finance Minister to attend World Bank IMF meet in Morocco, the capital Marrakesh. Again, Atlas Mountains, for example, was asked, right? So you should know the basics of Morocco now. Why are they going? So finance minister and central bank governor are going. So they're going for this finance ministers and central bank conveners meeting. Bank of Baroda hikes retail term deposit rates by 50 basis point, 0.5. Now you see net interest margin coming down. Okay, that's it for today. Again, this also I've explained, right? Gaza, history of war. So that's it from today's news analysis.